the ASI 2025 annual meeting, which is that of professional astronomers. And you can already see that we are a lot more diverse, and we're a lot from many more parts of India than the professional astronomy community, which is because communicators networks in the world, right? Especially if you include, for example, the people science movements, which are very, very active in the 80s and 90s and unique in the world, we can claim to have the largest, most diverse communicators community in the world. But we don't have, it's not a community, it's just the sum of the parts. It's not more than the sum of the parts, and it's not been so for a while, right? And therefore, we need to come together, and this symposium, of course, you not agree, I hope, is an attempt in that direction. And what I want to do in the next 10 minutes is to kind of propose that one of the anchor points of this effort can be the ASI vision document. How many of you heard of the vision document? Except for the fact that Yogesh mentioned it. Okay, so that's good. So then my talk has some. Okay. So in the last 2 years, there were 2 vision documents prepared because my knowledge is better. On the right side is a vision document for a decadal vision document for astronomy, mega projects in astronomy, prepared by the principal scientific officers, principal scientific advisor of the Government of India's office, the PSA. Okay, under Vijayaraghavan when he was a PSA. On the left, which was released last year, I believe, 2 years ago, is the Astronomical Society of India's vision document for the next decade of astronomy. And this has chapters on every branch of astronomy, on facilities, telescopes, human resource development, and also a small section on outreach and society. That's called this Astronomy Society. So this document is available on the ASI's website. I do recommend that you go check it out. There's a 4-page section, chapter 11 called Astronomy Society. And the recommendation that I just keep you around, read it, just I don't want to read it down. It's here to just let you know that the small chapter does have set of recommendations. Is it working now? Sorry, okay. So the real meat is in this paper, which was published as a follow-up of that very small chapter. And this paper can be found in the special issue of the Journal of Astronomy and Astrophysics of the ASI in India. And it's called Astronomy Society, Road Ahead. The lead author is Aniket Sule, who I think was here on the first day, who's not here now. And I very, very strongly urge you to read the paper. And as an incentive for you to read the paper, I'm listing out all the sections. This paper basically looks at each category, each topic of astronomy communication, summarizes what we think is the current status of that theme in India, and sets forth for everybody, and I'll come to that in a bit, to act on to broaden the current scope of how things are in the country. Okay, the first section is called astronomy, it's called outreach and communication, the largest chapter, and all of these are sections. And I'm showing you all of this only so that you can identify with some of them and want to go and read the paper. Okay, yellow are all the sections, subsections in the paper, and those subsections in the paper in which there are abstracts in this symposium I marked as blue. And you can tell already that we're covering quite a lot. There are already some activity on almost every topic, right? So we have people already working on almost every aspect of what we want to see in the next 10 years in India in this field. Right? Then the next section, and I thought this also, I thought I'll convert and really didn't like it, so I'm sorry, I'm going back to my bullet points. So the next section is astronomy for education, and there again, the things in blue have abstracts either for talks or as posters in this symposium. The third section is on history and heritage, which talks of preserving manuscripts, documents, building structures, and so on and so forth, and we already saw many talks on that topic. The fourth section is astronomy for development, which is kind of inspired by the OAD's own charter, IAU OAD's charter. And again, except for probably one thing here, everything else seems to be covered very well, including in the breakout session. The last one, the fifth one is diversity, equity, inclusion. Again, inclusive access knowledge is something we had talks on, and I think most of it was covered in the summary in the breakout session as well, right? And the next one was special purpose centers versus institutions, and I think one on breakout session again talked of hiring policies for hiring and career path and training and so on and so forth. And then there was there is a long set. Each section has a set of recommendations, around 6 or 7. So do read them. I think each of you would identify at least one recommendation very, very strongly. And I'm just listing a few of them, right? So some recommendations are there for the ASI Public Outreach Committee to do, like collecting information, being a repository of information and so on. For the ASI itself to do, and I want to stress this point where we say at the end that it is not enough to define an astronomer as somebody who does research or publishes papers. We need to expand the definition of who's an astronomer or astronomy practitioner to not only include astronomy outreach people, but people who work at observatories, people who work at planetaria, science centers, publish books, write for blogs, etc. So the idea is to expand the notion of what we think is the astronomy community at large to include everybody who practices astronomy in some form or the other, right? And ASI should be a broad tent or a big umbrella for all of them, right? For institutions as well, we have some recommendations, many more, so please read the paper, but I just highlighting a few of them for funding agencies and so on. We don't have recommendations specifically for the outreach people, because you're the ones who are going to be doing the work, right? So you're the ones who, the recommendations are on your behalf in some sense to the other people who should be doing all this to support you. That's the idea. So therefore, the vision document can only provide direction and encode. It encodes, we believe we've done a reasonable job at encoding most of the aspirations of the community. And I think that's been strengthened by what we've seen so far here in discussions. And therefore, having said that, it only comes to life when you act upon recommendations. We have seen, all of us have seen in our lifetimes, many committees come and go, recommendations come and go, action items come and go, and then we still talk about the same things again and again and again every 3 years, right? So if you do not want that to happen to either the vision document or the symposium, then the onus is on all of us here and listening outside and people who are not even attending the symposium to take this on board and try and use the vision document to inspire a few things we are doing, right? The vision document is not complete. It is not meant to be complete, but it's an attempt at kind of summarizing things, summarizing many of the things we think we should be focused on. But of course,
similar with ASI POC website. So it's supposed to be a central repository. So there is no communication channels. There are resources, they are scattered. ASI is supposed to be facilitating all that. So I'm not sure what exactly the solution will be, but we need a solution to channelize all the efforts that happen.
So to channelize, what I would recommend as a simple system is having a mailing list, okay, in which people can post. All of the people in this room can be on the same mailing list. The advantage of mailing list over a WhatsApp group, etc., is that it's not transient. The website, the mailing list archives will be available for all time. And then, but of course, people will have to be disciplined. Okay, they can't send non-relevant content to this. So we could have a moderator also to approve every email. But set up a mailing list. We actually have no mainline installed in NCRA. So if NCRA can host that, there is absolutely no problem in doing it. That way, all the things that we want to communicate, there is a funding opportunity, some job has become available, something is happening, some event is happening, we need volunteers for this, we need volunteers for that, can go out to thousands of people potentially with zero overhead.
Yeah. So this has been talked about before. The problem was just we didn't find the right enough technology which would not need somebody to go through everything. Right? But if some technology solution to be found where there are, let's say, some 6 or 7 moderators who will verify that the information is fine and will say post. Something like that might be work. Yeah. So you come and tell us about it later. We can do something about it. Yeah. So now there is more technology for group.
It's more universal, it's long term, and we have.
No, and I'm talking about the back end where somebody has to verify them. So that's a full-time job. See? So something like that, one can work on this offline, but some kind of automation, if you can suggest,
I
you can
think
implement
it's
that.
there. See, because it's being used for scientific collaborations.
Yeah, we can figure that out.
There.
So, for example, the ASI itself does this for the professional astronomy community. There's a Friday email sent by the secretary every week, right? So we did a POC newsletter, but it was too much effort, so we gave up. So,
Don't centralize.
yeah.
Everyone posts, but people should be.
Yeah, so we'll have to figure out a way which is much more decentralized and it doesn't require one person to spend all their life on it. And and also we can put it on the ASI POC website only, and then there's a list of things, right? So you were also thinking about something like that before. Somebody is also talking about
It's a
it.
solution which will evolve as things go, because based on our experience, based on technologies available, it addresses, I think, a part of the problem. There is an additional part of the problem which is about organizing resources in a manner, where you can find these. This will take care of sharing of information. That I agree is another thing which we need to work on. If you look at what Neeraj had on his list, the first few things for BOAC were making all sorts of databases. That was where we were trying to address that problem. Okay, but this point is well taken. We have somebody who's been waiting patiently for a while.
No problem, sir. Thank you.
But we all agree this is useful.
Yeah.
Worth spending energy on. Okay.
Hello everyone. I'm Divya Ramamurthy. I come from Tamil Nadu. So I don't think there is a better forum to ask or put forth this request. So one of the things that theme that has been I see in all the presentations is gender equity, and also about gender equity. And the place where I see as astronomers that we can have very great impact is on a social issue which is related to the misconception or the myth that generally prevalent.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Hold it closer, sir.
So there are a lot of misconceptions that a lot of groups, amateur astronomy groups,
special lobbying for serious harm like this should be done apart from general lobbying about astrology and superstition.
Yeah,
Is
and
that?
not only on eclipses, but on a regular
I
basis.
understand. So yeah, so basically, so serious lobbying on this particular point because
Yes.
it's really, really harmful.
Yes.
I take your point. Yeah, I noted it.
Hello? Yeah, I'm bringing us back one step from what she said. But if we can take up like the groups that we already formed here for the breakout session, can we continue with the same groups? Because now people are already divided. They know they have started some kind of
That's a
like
good.
conversation.
And others, and you can invite other people to
Yeah,
join because.
so other people can always join. But since we have already started the discussion, we can maybe take that up one step ahead and then make these groups. And these groups can also help you get data, as we are saying, collect data and work on those specific issues so it's more channelized.
I think that makes sense. But then, if you decide that, I would like at least two people from each group to put their hands up now and say we will. Then we are the ones who talk to BOIC in the future to enable that.
Yeah.
Can I have that?
Yeah,
Now.
that is a good.
And then also get more people who
Yeah,
name
yeah.
now, but
Yeah,
I want
yeah,
at least
yeah.
one name now to chase behind after
Yes,
the
yes.
symposium is over. Okay, so will the moderators themselves be the ones for now to start with?
If everyone is okay, then
The people who spoke, they're going to give a write up, so they can be the ones to start the working group, and then you then decide later about small 2-3 people per working group who will be talking to us later. Is that fine?
yeah, if everyone is okay
Okay.
with that, we can.
Fine. So at least 5 working groups we have at the start. That's
Yeah.
a good start.
Also,
Okay.
because when we were doing this via in-person discussions. So obviously there was only one group which you could join. But naturally you might have good suggestions for other groups, or you might want to be involved with some other groups as well. So as we take this forward, please feel free to be a part of more than one group if that is what you would like.
Hello, I'm Pallavi. I would like to take Mayuri's point forward and kind of ask you both a question on stage. So let's say we do take this working group forward and we have a bunch of people who have some really important insights or research that they've done within astronomy communication. What do we do with it next? Do we bring it to you? Do we publish it? What exactly happens after?
So I think as a part of what each of these groups would do is that they would have their own action items which they would need to work on, right? Where you would identify for yourself, okay, here is what makes sense for our group to do. That you would do in consultation with the POAC so that it is aligned with what POAC wants to do, what PSI wants to do. And collectively, I think you would come to some action items. Now, depending on what they are, they'll take the appropriate shape or form.
Just to add to that, I was going to ask you to comment actually before you put his hands up, and I think Samir Hamid will have something to say too. That's a good question because why should we do all this work? POAC, again, I should also, after having said all of this, I should also add a caveat that POAC is not here to guarantee that we will get everything done. There will be many, attempts at utopia in the human history. POAC is not one of them, right? What we are here to, what we can do is to be a central hub to collect information, collect things, collect people, collect information, collect resources, and then put it out there again. And also lobby with the ASI to give some sense of formality or officialness to what is happening, right? Which is important if we need to sustain it, talk to government and so on. So that sense of formality, we can ask ASI to imprint on what is happening. A good point you said is about publication. I wanted maybe Shailaja and TV would know. There are journals for science communication in India itself. CAP, of course, is there, and Samir will talk about CAP later. But there are also Indian journals, and I think including me, we do not publish any of our work either in CAP or in Indian journals in terms of outreach. I think we should start doing that. That's one thing to do, right? Even if you don't publish in a journal, POAC is perfectly happy to just put out white papers or just documents as and when you do it. Right? So, for example, a particular working group says we're going to produce something every year, a 10-page write-up. And each write-up will then say, okay, this is what we've done, this is what we're going to do, and invite responses. We are happy to put it out as a POAC series or whatever it's called, just to kind of give it some sense of officialness, right? Apart from that, for example, some working group, let's say, if progress is sufficient, we say you can have monthly online meetings to make it more vibrant. And if you say at the next ASI we are sufficiently strong enough to want a separate session in the evening to present something or to discuss something, we can ask the ASI if that's feasible, the SOC if it's feasible, or even if you say if you want to have like this symposium, you want to have a small we could ask for funding. All these I think are feasible. But yeah, you can come to that, then I would ask TV and Shailaja and also Samir and others.
Thank you for that. Just a little point that I'd like to add to that, and maybe a suggestion that if we could implement it from this conference. I have noticed this in a lot of research-centric or academic-centric conferences, that after it, all the speakers or everybody who did any kind of demonstration, poster, whatever, they write a page or two about what they've done in depth, and that is published as a little booklet. So if this is something sustainable that we can do with this conference, I feel like it would be a document worth having over the years also. Like if we do the next SCAI, that can also help, right?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
a living document on each of these. So if you have a working group, for example, on let's say curriculum, right? They have a living document which just gets added to every year or something. Or something that would be fantastic. That would be great. Yeah.
Probably mentioning of proceedings.
Proceedings of this
So
of
we
this
need
oh,
policy.
of this symposium. We could do that, but it won't have any value because we didn't ask permission before.
Correct.
Right.
So as you probably know, the abstract book is certainly there, and that is there on the website. If you want to beef it up, that's something which, it's for us
What?
to decide. If you're
We
willing
can.
to,
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah, if you're willing to put in the effort to turn it into a two-page proceedings, then it's up to us.
We can do that, and it will be. It won't have an official ISBN number. If that's okay, we can always make it a proceedings, and we can even ask the ASI to circulate it to all the ASI members also. Right. The other thing I want to say is one thing we want to do as a follow-up of this is later when you all gone home and had your rest, I will send yet another Google form to all of you. Okay, where I would like so a lot of you have talked about this website, this QR code, the social media page to follow, etc. I will send a form where we collect all the information from all of you, which will make it a database and send to everybody so that people, you heard this talk but I forgotten who it is, you can go click and go to the project yourself, right? So we'll enable that also.
Yeah. Okay, 4 points. So I will start with our point. So one is, if enough number of people are willing to write article based on your talk here or whatever, I can try to
No, no,
Before that,
yeah.
can I just respond to what a little bit? Okay.
No,
I
no,
can
go
go.
ahead, please.
So one is, yeah, so the journal, I also wanted to ask TVV and there are other journals also. There's some journal of science communication in India, right? Isn't there one?
Yeah, yeah, there are few other, there is one called Science Communicator, which is published periodically, I mean, in a, not every month, but once in a while by NCSM. That's also available. Then there is one Science Communicator that is published by Cochin University of Science and Technology.
Okay, so I got to ask you to send me that list.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
send it to
sure.
everybody. Okay. The second thing is the inclusive definition of inclusivity. I think is very important. Now, some of you might know that ASI has a working group on gender equity. WGGE looks at gender equity in the professional astronomy community. We haven't really talked about it seriously in the outreach community. There are outreach itself is gendered. No, from very serious examples like what she said to even examples which we all know, like if you have night sky watch in a remote location, you're going to get boys coming and not girls because the parents won't let them come and so on, right? So these things we need to come up with best practices, learnings and so on. And of course, gender is talked about, but then what is not also not talked about are things like caste, class, religion, region, language, and so on. So one needs to have a bit more inclusive definition of what inclusivity means. National campaigns, we had done some. The Zero Shadow Day, ASI POC took up in 2017 and made it very national. And then we kind of stopped that, and people have been doing it on their own, and maybe it's time to start that again. Whenever we've done national campaigns in the POC, people, Shailaja, Samir, Yohan here, it's been a huge success, right? The Translunar Mercury, two total lunar eclipses, Zero Shadow Day, and so on. They've been huge success. Maybe we should start it again, but then we can't do it on our own, so we'll take your help for it. Solstice, equinox, Erasmus Day, all of these, right? But also, I think you had an idea at some point saying that the International Day of the Moon doesn't suit India. So can we have a separate, looking at the monsoon, can we have a National Astronomy Day where you can look at where everybody looks at the moon, but then, during the months where we know it's like sky is clear. That's something for us to also think about, whether we can do that. Then everybody across the country in that 2 days looks at it, shows the moon through a telescope. That's a huge thing, right? The International Day comes during inopportune moments. Sun, whatever it is, right? So you're talking about that, I remember long back. So maybe some international, so National Day of the Moon which suits our seasons, right? Last point I want to mention the mentoring thing. Yeah, sorry, I've done my second. So who all want to speak? Speak. No, sorry about it.
Yeah, so in, okay.
Yeah, Mike will come to you. Mike will come to you. Speak in the mic.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
in terms of the teachers, I think what our TVU mentioned is very important. That mentoring will be needed for the teachers, and I think since we are so many of us are going to go and speak with teachers or be connected with teachers, I think getting feedback from them about what is not clear in these textbooks or what is something that may need more help, I think even getting those feedback would be important. And so we want you all to be ears, so that you go out and if you talk with teachers and you see that something is hard, then please let us know. Because
also, people from HPC say here,
yeah.
Does HPC already have mechanisms of doing it which we can feed into? That would be
no. So once
feedback.
yeah, so once we know what happens, then HBCSC basically runs multiple programs for teacher training. But again, it cannot reach everyone, and so that's I think spreading it out much more will help. And since we have so many people from so many places around here, I think.
Anything, new points or points about these? Div is looking at the point to you.
No, you mentioned about the National Day of the Moon again. So in Maharashtra we have before Diwali there is something called as a Kojagiri Purnima. So everybody looks at the moon that time. So something like this could be declared that anyway people look at the moon on that day. So that could be a national moon day also.
Samir, do you want to say something about what you have meant? Because it's also about clouds not being there for most of India, right? And winter is best for India in terms of clear skies. Except for Tamil Nadu, which gets clear only after December, but yeah.
Full moon should be followed by astronomy day where we can have lights out.
Anything, yeah.
Can we have the mic here, please? Yeah.
Please speak in the mic. We're being live streamed, so you need to speak in the mic.
Krishna Gaikwad.
Let's please let one person speak at a time. Thank you.
Krishna Gaikwad, myself from Pune.
best day for National Solar Day, that will be the New Year. New Year of Indian National Calendar, March equinox. Okay, 22nd of March, monsoon will not be there. It is equinox, we'll have observations for sunrise, sunset, and you can measure latitude, solar declination. And for solar day, that is objectively the best day. Moon, obviously, we can discuss Godagiri, new moon and all that. But I think that ties in to the National Astronomy Day as well. So that may be taken up.
So yeah, so the exact day we don't have to decide now. I think most people I think don't realize that there is a lunar eclipse this year, especially because it will rise after the eclipse is set, except for the northeast, right? And talking of inclusivity, eclipse doesn't happen only if it happens in central India, right? So let's remember that. This is an international site, so the map is long. Please bear with me. In the northeast, for example, it rises. Moon rise is around maximum, and then it becomes very, very much later, very soon, if as we go more westwards. So please remember that. So next campaign should really be this because it is happening on 3rd March. It's not very far away, right? And people in the northeast are the best place to see this. Is Lal going to be here? So please lead the campaign. We are here behind you. Northeast is best place to see the eclipse just after moonrise. We are very happy to help with anything. If you want to take the lead, we are all very happy to do this. It's only 2 months away, so you don't have to wait till the full total lunar eclipse, which will happen and wait on. By the way, which will happen on 31st December 2028. It's a lovely lunar New Year party waiting to happen. But I can suggest that we consider the next campaign should really be the lunar eclipse in the northeast. Yeah.
Does it go through Andaman?
So good point.
We have so for this.
One second, Niroj.
Yeah.
Carrying on what Alok was saying, for solar day, the March is the perfect fit. But with regard to lunar day, why not declare it every year based on, for example, a lunar eclipse? Why should it be a particular day that is every year?
So these details we'll discuss.
Yeah.
Discuss later. I don't want to get bogged down in details. No, let's not get bogged down in details at this point. Let's stick to big picture items now. So to answer the question, Andaman, yes. So the seastal people,
There is someone, right?
people is here. You're here, right? Sorry. So Andaman, your next 3rd May, your project is settled. We'll all help you, please. Okay.
Just a caveat. So, see, we are looking at it at these days from the perspective that they are exciting for me. Eclipse is very exciting as an astronomer, right? But we should also think of what is useful to not useful, but popular with most of the janta who we are trying to reach, and figure out that kind of a thing. Look at the communal aspect, community X-ray. Sorry. So the March 21st, which has been suggested here. Since last year, I'm working with a group in declaring it as a World Equality Day. So it's equal day, right? So internationally equal day kind of a thing. So you have more social message than just saying, I like the sun, so I'll watch it, and you should watch it also, and you should also photograph it like this, which they will not do. But
Yeah, so one needs to
give it a more
So
popular.
we need to design it carefully.
Yeah.
We're just starting the conversation now.
I understand.
It has to be designed carefully. For example, you look at the moon day, it just cannot be looking the moon to telescope. You also organize, people from Tamil Nadu, Nilachor Day, for example, or you have songs and stories about the moon. You weave in things. It has to be like a festival, moon festival.
Rather than talking about strawberry moon or whatever.
Yeah, oh
moon,
God, I really think of this.
Let's
Moon, pink moon. Yeah. Sorry, you know who the next hand is. smaller group. So let's move on from the details of which day to other topics.
Okay, so guys, it is 5:22. Okay, we have to be mindful. There are perhaps other things we want to talk about as well. Sharon?
Yeah, this is something that only POAC can do. So there is a working group for star names by the IAU and Commission CJ. I am the sole person representing
Please,
India
louder.
there. I am the only one representing India in that commission. So I have a tough time in convincing those people to give names for approval by the IAU. I have been successful only for 2 names so far. Shatavisha is one thing, and the type of questions they ask for approval is very difficult to answer. For example, what's the meaning of Shatavisha, who named it, and how long ago has it been in use? And is there a star chart anywhere? And that is how the chart that I showed yesterday was, I was able to convince them, but then that conveys nothing about the word Shata, 100. So I have these kinds of difficulties. All the bright star names are all taken away by the Greek and Arabic names, so we are left with only faint stars. So I am trying to propose a few more names, the names which I got as with coordinates and magnitude from the Contractor Research Institute. So there have been some misidentifications also which need to be corrected. For example, Ardra has been declared as Alpha Orionis, which is not true. It is Gamma Gem as per the coordinates. And POEC should have some kind of a information on this, saying that as per the coordinates this is given, and because this misconception has been there when there was a mix-up with European astronomy and Indian astronomy 100 or 150 years ago, it has been continuing.
So you want POC to, oh, sorry.
So now that is one correction. The second thing is that this name Shatavisha has been approved for Lambda Orionis should be made known to the people in India. So only POEC can do that. And I have prepared a short write-up for them. The same thing can be put in different languages so that hereafter people, instead of going to Wikipedia and referring to some astrology text for the name, they can as well look up a more authentic source for
The
this. I
Wikipedia
plan
page
to
should reflect what we have to say. So the second part of what you said, that I think is perfectly fair for POEC to take up. Engaging with IAU to get corrections into names, I'm not sure if it would fall under the domain of public outreach and education.
there are some new names that I am going to propose after convincing them on the coordinate system. For example, there is a name called Shwa. Shwa. Nobody would have heard that name. It's an Indian star name. Shwa means a dog. So I have to convince them first that Shwa means a dog. I have to prove something. I have to prove the magnitude. I have to prove the coordinate system that
So
fit
POC
with
can
that. All these
put
things.
it up on a website, but that doesn't have any importance by itself, right? It has to be more official.
IAU has,
ASI also.
they have officially announced it.
ASI can engage with the IAU. POEC
So the working group has approved it, and it is on
So
their
that's been
website.
very formally
But
done.
locally, how people know it?
That we can do. The publicizing it, POC can definitely do. Yes.
So we'll continue. So can we, okay, first you, and then you, and then you.
Yeah, I have something different because UAC is the platform where actually public comes to know. One of the mandate is to say the public and other involved about the various works which are done in the country, astronomical works. And there is no systematic outreach of what are the works which are going on in a popular level. So what people are doing, what they have discovered, what new findings they have done. There is no platform for that. It may be there in some papers or somewhere in the institute's website or something. But then POEC can, because somebody, we can form a thing that somebody, it will be in a monthly basis or quarterly basis, something will be updated and people will come to know about it.
So doing things like, setting up a
Are you
forum.
talking about this basically?
Are you talking in context of planetarium and science centers or in general?
Primarily.
No, I am talking about astronomical discoveries, findings, works, new things which are being going on.
So
As
for
Indian
example,
astronomers are
Indian, right?
involved.
Yeah, that's what this is about. Yeah.
correct.
It is not public website.
Yeah. So what is, for example, feasible for POEC to do is to set up something similar to what ASI has done for the Friday updates. That there is a form which is in a specific format which don't ourselves have the wherewithal to write it for somebody else. Right? And I would put the onus on the people who have done the research to communicate it, to share it with us in a language which we can share with others, which is, at a level which people can understand. So that is how I think, that is the way I see as a possible way of, tackling this.
See, many institutions, including mine, issue press releases about specific papers, right? That goes through usually the funding agency and goes to Press Information Bureau. It goes to the media, and then some many institutes have a good way of doing it. Some do not. Some astronomers and universities will not be able to access their press information officer, unlike institutes like ours. So one thing, the easy start, and if I want, Bangalore Planetarium has already asked all the institutions in Bangalore to give them, as soon as we issue a press release, to give them notice, so they can actually do something with that, right? So they want to build a database for themselves. What we could do as a starting point at least is that all the press releases issued on astronomy by any institution in India, we can have a database, like the ASI has on a web. We can ask ASI to put it on their website itself, why should it come from UAC? It's official research, right? And that can be shared with planetariums and science centers and journalists and so on. You pick it up, and then if you want more information, the contact details are there to go talk to the person there. What about research which is not issued as press release? I know there's a huge issue, for example, in universities, IITs, and ISS and so on. Then, as you said, if you then want to, not have a press release but a note, you can call it something else because officially you have to be mindful of all these things. Have a research note, then we can find a way to put that, maybe if not ASI or a POIC press release, right? POIC website, right? And journalists can use that, but more importantly, planetaria, for example, some planetaria want to, Shailaja is here, she started at Bangalore, we have snippets of news in the beginning of each show, right? So that's what all of us are doing for the Bangalore Planetarium now in the database. We can start that. Anything more than that, like you say, we cannot make it for other people. If you make it and give it to us, we put it on a webpage, others can go and find the author and get more information. Would that be?
Can it be made mandatory for author to give a writer?
You can't. Also, you have around 1,000 papers published a year, I think. So, do you really want 1,000 articles to wait through? You have to go to the other extreme of having too much material, right?
Neeraj, one correction, it is not Lambda Orionis, it is Lambda Aquarius.
Aquarius, oh, okay.
Okay, so one,
No, just okay. It's a very simple one. Somebody shared information that switching off light. It's already existing. It's called the Earth Hour. Last Saturday of March, for 28th March is 8:30 to 9:30 international hour, switching off non-essential lights.
So this is both question as for general audience as well as for you. This is following Shailaja ma'am's point. In various languages, the names of the stars, the standard stars, are different. When we are doing the stargazing show in Marathi, we say some names, the different regions will have different names. Can we have a database of that? Because there is no need to have actually any kind of, and another thing, can we have a standardized, can we have a working group of Indian names of stars? Just like IIU has a working group for naming all the stars, can we have a working group which will standardize the names? That does not have to be followed by all the communities all over the India. They can have their own names. There is, of course, the linguistic diversity is there. That's not an issue. But just for any kind of maybe official communication or something like that, can we have standardized star names in Indian languages? They don't even have to be chosen from only Sanskrit-based names. They can be chosen from the various regional languages.
They should be.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, traditions are not same as languages. Yeah, I think a good point. Can I just say that, can I ask Shailaja to be one of the people leading the working group and some people to come up, a couple more people to put their names, so I'll just put it here.
okay, we'll come to Alok, then go back to Shailaja.
Shailaja, who else wants to be in the working group? Names, can you send me names?
So, my suggestion is exactly this. This will kill multiple stones with the same thing. So, we will have an official.
Yeah. Multiple stones with the same bird.
Okay, we'll kill it. Okay, so basically, it will solve the problem of officially standardized tribes or Mizo and Ladakhi and other whatever we are trying to document. This will serve in like as a database of documenting, and it will help in actually officially doing that. Using IU, we'll have a problem because we don't have our own official data. So yeah, that working group is something we'll put an official stamp on.
Even the story can be included.
Exactly.
Yeah, stories also can be
Stories,
actually collated.
everything.
No, but I would like to separate the star name from story only because star names are much more definite and slightly less, no, because easier to do. So let's do that first. Stories can be a multitude, and if you don't combine them, we will lose the star names in the process. That's
This is
all.
not for POAC or ASI, they have to do. It's just that there can still be a database where
That's
people
perfectly
get
fine.
investigation
Absolutely, we need
stories.
that. I
It
agree.
doesn't even have to be official.
I
And from there, people who are interested in, say, archaeoastronomy or anything that they want to go and find out, they have then basically
No,
there to
I think
look
but
at
all
it.
I'm saying is that the star name will be a bit more formalized
Yeah, yeah.
working group
That will be
because that is a bit more,
In
it
future,
needs more,
that's how it should be. I agree.
officialness to it.
Yeah.
The star node should be a community enterprise rather than
Yeah,
having
yeah, yeah.
two people
In fact,
deciding.
the
That's
star
it.
node is a more community matter rather
Exactly.
than
That should be a community
anything that is
enterprise.
standard from grade 3.
And that needs ambiguity when the star names
Yes.
needs no ambiguity. That's it.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on.
So
Other topics. We don't
talking
have too much
about
time.
talking about
Let's go to other topics. Yeah, sorry.
this is coming to the next one that you have already discussed. So we're talking about things which are known, star names, etc., in the culture, but we are also going into a place where astronomy, astrophysics is creating new things like fast radio bursts, right? Redshift. Do we have a word for that? Or if before anybody parks a very complicated word for that, I think our community should make simple words and quickly identify which are the new things which are coming in and park our own good, nice, public friendly words and into the thing. And then that can be accepted by the whole community and used
Like
also.
once you start using it,
Yeah.
you know it at a few places it tends to be
That's a good point. Yeah.
easier to accept.
So fast radio they translate fast as no
Something
fast
like
and
that.
then
Yeah, equally something and then
yeah.
people just lose it.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Let's go to other topics so we get many more voices heard.
Also something else.
And then
Related to this, just a quick suggestion that the translation, especially that you are talking about, this need not be done just by the astronomy community. We have the colleagues in the language
no,
department.
yeah, yeah. So details of it
That's the
will
problem.
be worked out.
I have, let's say, as a person in a government department, I have a person who's translating my things into Hindi, and the Hindi doesn't make any sense coming from the literary point of view.
Okay, I'm going to cut short this conversation because details will have to be worked out by the working groups. That's the work in the working group. And there is more other topics we want to get more voices. Yeah. And especially people sitting at the back, the mics can reach you, so please put your hands out and talk.
Actually, you can also move forward.
Yeah.
When you showed the map, the developing strength of astronomic communication, a wild idea just came, and it could be an absolutely stupid idea, but I thought maybe I'll invite opinions. Every district of the country having its own astro van, basically something like Jyotirvahan or Gagan Vahan or something like that, and a government sanctioned one, because what works in India over time is community trust over everything else, I think, because our context is entirely different. Like you said, inclusivity and all that, community trust comes. And I just remembered, it's not related to astronomy, but Anganwadi Kendra, which are the health aspect, it was started by an NGO long back, and it spread into the government ecosystem, and it has saved millions of infants from mortality, for different purpose. Now, once such a thing comes into a system, and then of course running it is the biggest challenge. You can deploy vehicles, but then you need drivers, you need human resources to pay, you need trained. But I think it's possible because when the government sanctioned vehicles, there is more trust. That's what I feel in my culture.
So the astro buses, astro vans, so they've been done before, but then they don't exist anymore for some reason, right? PVV might remember examples. DST used to have a science train. I don't know how many of you know. How many of you know that DST is a science train? Oh, good. And it's going to come to Pune, for example. And 1 year the topic was astronomy, right? I think during Vijay Samagam, I think. It says that there is some Vijay Samagam, and it goes to some 200 stations and stays there for 2 days. I mean, it's nothing like it. I think initial money came from Germany, and that was for sometimes stopped, right? clients a month to do it.
SGT
But
used to have Astrovan, SGT,
yeah,
university.
SGT. Okay. So they are less now, though I don't know why, because it should be easier, not like before. But it should be revived. It should be revived. Definitely. Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, POC can't get a bus or a van. Can't buy a bicycle. But
Okay, I want to say something else like, uh, can we form an active one-day committee to counter fake news, fake astronomy news, and in especially social media as soon as they rise? Because we need to provide some antidote from our side. Maybe we can form an active committee with one scientist, one writer, one content creator, and designer, and we can distribute to different states to translate. So as soon as like there can be like two sun will rise and it will spread like anything before that reaches the entire country. Can we prevent some?
I thought we'll keep to realistic goals.
It has to be right.
In this discussion. No, it's. I think that's what all of us are doing, right? Attacking each one, I think it's a huge task, and centralizing that I think is very difficult. Also because they're very localized and so on. And by the time we noticed in Bangalore, for example, by the time we try and make some response to fake news, there are two more already that come in the last next 2 days. Right? So the response time for us is very slow. It is something that I don't know what. Maybe we can have a few more comments on how do you tackle fake news. One thing we could do is just like Phil played bad astronomy. Yeah. So we could have like a list on the POC website or maybe a different website where we just say all the really bad news coverage in India. We just put there as examples. We can even cut out the name of the paper if you want to or something. Yeah. I don't know. This is a huge problem. We all face it every day. Please, each of us are trying various ways to do it, but how do we kind of do it together? Ideas, please.
So the way we have PIB fact check on social media, PIB fact checks are there on social media.
PIB fact check.
Yeah,
Yeah.
PIB fact.
I mean, many of them are repeated every year, so.
Yeah, so these existing tools clearly can't keep up, and we can't keep chasing every fake news. So we do it wherever we can attack it, and maybe having a fake news database might not be a bad idea. Actually, doing eclipses means is that some of us were, last eclipse we were kind of listing we're making a list of all the really weird news articles. We could have that maybe, but anything else, we have to have a committee consultation. I don't know how to do it.
Okay, so not to dismiss what you're saying.
It's too big a problem. This is the problem.
Fine. Good evening. My name is Anand. I'm from Gujarat. Sir, it may be a mythological question, or I don't know whether it is possible or not, but is it possible that my question is regarding the light pollution of cities? That hoardings and everything, that malls, and they are just continuously, switching on their lights for full night. So is it possible that we can convince the policy makers to, decide one color, or if not possible, then at least the intensity that they should keep on their, hoardings, and after 12 o'clock in the, late night they can switch off, so that we can reduce the light
So the
pollution.
working group should do
So
that.
you should join us.
Yeah, join the working group.
Yeah, there's a working group which is about reducing light pollution in urban
In
areas.
cities.
So
Okay.
join
But
that.
also we have a city, each city municipal corporation is the one which
Yes,
decides. So
yes.
we can have some national level guidelines, but the actual going and lobbying has to happen city by city. It cannot even happen at state level actually. If you look at it, right? Each city will have to be.
Pass the
Yeah. But I think the working group should look at all this definitely. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Harshit, and I have 2 points to make. So one is, I also mentioned that before, that we can have state point of contacts kind of thing in ASI where they can coordinate state level, like different groups to coordinate all kind of activities. And second is, because like few campaigns like Zero Shadow Day may not be very much relevant about the topic of cancer. So rather, like organizing national campaigns, we can think of having like maybe like ASI can dedicate 1 month to each state or a cluster of states, and then they can put all the machinery into organizing events and activities like in that particular month or in that particular region of the country, because that will have.
So region focus, yeah. So I think also POEC also has evolved over time, right? So every POEC has tried rather than one person point of failure in some sense. That is a personal opinion. I invite everybody else to also opine. State-based, state focus, I think is a really nice idea, and I think it's up to the states to then people in the state come together. For example, there was a talk by one of my team members, Prasanna Deshmukh, about the Eclipse campaign IAA ran, where we formed something called PAC, which is the Platform of Astronomy Communicators in Karnataka. It was formed for the Eclipse, but we want to use it further, right? So I think each state should come up with some kind of a platform or something, and then you say you want to do something, and then of course POAC is there to publicize everything and get other people involved and so on. That would be a nice thing. And I think the coming eclipse, if all the Northeast can get together, ASI Guwahati is happening, and we're already talking to people about having a Northeastern Astronomy Festival for a week during the ASI, where people across all the Northeastern states can locally do some outreach activity that one week, so there's a lot of buzz and so on, like in the spirit of what exactly you raised, right? I think that would be really nice to do. But each state, people in every state have to get together. And it's nice because, POAC is there at national level, this symposium is national, but it would be nice if such symposiums or gatherings happen state by state also, right? It does happen for parts of the state. For example, Tamil Nadu, for example, I know Tamil Nadu, TAS has its own network, Tamil Nadu Science Forum does it, in Kerala maybe KSP does. But having state-based platforms would be nice, and that would be a great idea.
I had a similar thing because see, many of the things I didn't know that. For instance, I didn't know the group in Rajasthan. So we are in a catchment area. For instance, we are in the North Kashmir, Himachal, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, and some parts of Uttar Pradesh. Also, we can actually have a local hub. And as he said, that zero shadow day cannot be done, but we can think of something in which we can do something together. And all these groups in different states, because there may not be a critical mass in one state for one person to do, but at least 3-4 states together near, which can be within 1 day of travel, for instance, can do some events together. That's my suggestion.
I have a point to add to that. When you say zero shadow day cannot be done across.
But we can always
when you mentioned that zero shadow day cannot be done across different
Sure,
latitudes,
shadow
but
day.
there is also a possibility of measuring the circumference of the Earth by collaborating. So that is
The
one.
shorter shadow day is also June 21st for people across topics.
Yeah, and on the fake news part, we already know the astronomical events that happens over the period for a year. And most of the times, what I see is my mom comes to me checking whether this is a fake news or not only during those astronomical events. So if we cannot address all the fake news, if we know the major astronomical events like Apogee, Perigee, these are the times when most of the fake news come out. So if something can be done during those times, that would be helpful. Thank you.
I think we have to stop very soon because we are an hour past.
Time, and everybody seems to be in a hurry to go, which
Because I can't order myself for being late, I told
some of
everybody
us
else.
might have flights to catch. Just to add to what you said, that most of the fake news comes out when there is some event which is happening. What we've tried to do in the past is not really so much to counter the news, but to set out verified information, right? Good information. So that you can certainly do. Whether or not people will look at it, I mean, you choose your media, right? So if I'm always going to be looking at whatever some wacky, source, that is hard to help. But we do try to put out verified scientifically.
A lot of people, I think everybody here has been doing that in their own way. So IIA, for example, the Planet Parade, we put out to explain a video in 5 languages saying what actually it is and what it is not. And many people I know have been doing similar stuff. Whether we want to collate everything into one database is not useful because English, of course, gets a lot of other state language-based response has to be state-based. It goes back to the point he raised at the back, right? There should be state-based platforms because they also effectively language-based platforms. And because they're language-based platforms, you need state-based platforms. I think I would strongly encourage that people in a given state form some loose collaboration. That will be useful.
Okay, so we are getting close to the end, but okay, I have 3 hands in front of me who I'm still going to take.
And then we'll stop.
Hello everyone, I'm Shiv Shankar from Kolkata. So we have been discussing a lot about the campaigns or outreach and all, like yesterday Nirul sir was also mentioning about the feedback collection methodologies, because it is very difficult when it comes to education and outreach, because feedback collection methodologies are can be different. So can ASI or let's say POSC can provide some case studies for standardized standardized feedback collection methods from its own case studies, such that we all can refer that for our own outreach, such that there's a standardized model to measure the impact as well.
It's a important topic. Not much work is being done. I'm just going to hand that over to HPCSA and say, please do it for us. Is that okay? To all of us, I think we just give it. I mean, jokes apart, I think they are the ones who have been doing some work. But I think this is something that's very, very, very new topic for all of us.
Actually, it will gain a lot more importance, especially as you want to do more of it. You want to evaluate.
Also,
efficacy,
these days,
you want to go out for CSR. They will want to evaluate.
These days, actually, government is asking us. Funding is asking us, what is the impact of the outreach? We have been asked at IIA, for example, routinely we kind of fill up something, right? And because we've been asked, we start mentioning things more, right? But yeah, this is something we need to discuss. It's a thing, and I would ask HPCC maybe to lead the discussion in some form and some way.
Yeah, my name is Zil. I'm from Ahmedabad. To overcome that last second point, the state-based activity, the ISRO does have a program called Space Tutor. They will give us certificate. Can ASI do in a similar kind of structure? Then they gave a certificate to one institute or one individual who is doing astronomy and astronomy communication, because it will give you the database, so we can do activity.
It's come up before. So far previously POC has not been reluctant to do that because it needs a lot of verification and follow up and so on. So we'll take it up and see what we do.
How about just a participation certificate for something like this?
Yeah, I think POC is going to prepare an e-certificate and will be uploaded, and so everybody will mass generate e-certificates with their names. As you have entered it, some people have entered names a bit wrong. That we can help. We will mass generate and put it on a drive. You can download. But I know some people need it for getting your funding from back home, so we'll generate certificates. Apart from that, if anybody specifically needs something more formal to get funding from back home,
was a much needed symposium. It was meaningful, definitely. So that's it, basically.
Opinions, of course, welcome, but feedback about how we can do better is also very useful. So that is also what.
Let's then start the closing session. I first would like to introduce the scientific organizing committee of the symposium. That is, people are here, please stand up. Ajay Talwar is not here. Alok Bandavane, Divya Oberoi, Arvinder Kaur Jasar as a co-chair, Himanti Shekhar Das who couldn't be here, Jayant Ganguly, Mamta Gulati who couldn't be here, myself, Priya Hassan, Samir today as co-chair. Where is it? C.S. Shailaja and T. Venkateshwaran. So we first would like to thank the work Right? Okay. It's easier for all of us to attend a symposium when things are taken care of, and I'd like to thank people who funded this. Many of you have been given registration waivers, travel support, and free accommodation thanks to the funds given very graciously and very immediately by many institutions. The ASI itself took it upon itself to declare this as an ASI symposium, which is very good because it gives an official stamp of approval to all our activities, and it also gave funds for that. We decided early on that we would like to dedicate it to JVS memory, and Ayuka, when we asked Samir was very, very happy to ask Ayuka, and Ayuka also readily agreed to host this. And hosting implied, of course, accommodation, food, as well as providing travel support. So that's very, very generous of them. And I'm very happy to have the first SCAI at Ayuka, also dedicated to JVS memory. I think you would have been proud of all of us the last 3 days. I'd also like to thank the Institute of Astrophysics and the Aries Nainital for giving us funding support, which enabled us to cover a lot of deficits we would have otherwise, and NCRA TFR for the amazing GM1 trip we're going to have tomorrow. But of course, all of this because of all of you. So I'd like to thank all the participants. Like Div said, you all came here. Some of you have come here at your own expense, which is, I think, amazing. A lot of people attending, around 180 people could not come here because we had logistics constraints, and therefore they are watching from home. All of people who had submitted abstracts painstakingly and followed up with us, etc., etc. All the speakers, we had imposed very strict time constraints, and I think, for many of you, maybe the first time you had given such, even 1 minute talks. So thanks for, taking the time to, and the patience for giving talks, preparing posters, showing your demonstrations, bringing your demonstrations by bus and train here to show it to us. I think it's amazing that you all did that. And of course, we're here in Ayuka, we acknowledge JV Narlikar, who kind of showed the way to all of us that not only is science outreach important, but it's also possible in India. I would like to, of course, thank the LOC because that's what has made all of this possible. And I would like, while I thank the LOC, I think Samir should call everybody here so we can thank all of them in person.
Thank you, Neeraj. And thank you, all of you, for being a wonderful collective here in this dream event that we've been, as Neeraj mentioned, I think we've been dreaming it for a decade now, but it's now a reality, so dreams can come true. Okay. So the abbreviation, I'm sure, is not lost on you. This is the SCAI. So I was going to say, we are the SCAI and you're the stars. Let's clap for And I hope this SCAI continues to be like this, a collection of people who are now slowly becoming constellations. They're having subgroups form and working towards similar goals in enhancing our common goal of communicating astronomy in India and then to the world as well. So this conference, from the perspective of LOC, of course, it has its own challenges, but because of all your help and understanding, we've been able to do a very, I hope, satisfactory job of not having too many inconveniences. Okay, sorry. Wife coming home. We've had some amazing presentations here, which to our team here, the local LOC team, which has been working on various kinds of, we don't shy away from any medium. We just want the exciting astronomy to go to the people. But we've also been impressed with things like Great Games, other dramas, new telescope designs that have come here, an app that catches fake AI-based images. These have been amazing. And I really would like to, from my team's perspective, would like to support the creation of the resource base that has been talked here. So this is definitely our promise that Ayuka, which has, with the vision of Professor Narlikar, pioneered a lot of outreach, not just in astronomy, but in across sciences actually. And even now, when we go to various science communication conferences, the effort that have been put in is really appreciated all through all sciences. And we are, in a way, the community that is sitting here is way ahead of most of the
promise that we'll support it as much as possible. This whole team is here with you. Um, there's been a question coming from everybody which I would I thought I should raise, which was not there. It's about the recognition of the work that has happened. I think now this is kind of a good platform where we are at least getting to present our work. The work presented here is also noticed to be more professional. We have seen several of the posters, several of the talks had a lot of research base. We are presenting data, we are presenting impact evaluation as well. And so this shows that the maturity is there and developing. And over the next, few SCAI conferences, I'm sure, which we're already dreaming of, we'll have a substantial amount of maturity in the community, which will lead to more informed communication.
Next time, Nainital.
Chalo, naare lagao. Okay. Yes. So we have to make sure that the content is also scientifically accurate. That's something we will also strive to do. And again, from the LOC side, whatever we could have done, we've done this time to keep all the content and the other things associated also very smooth. From IUCA side again, I request all of those who are from various parts of the country, we would be happy to connect you with our university associates who could be very good local points of contacts and from the perspective of getting your science right, as I was saying, or even to, sometimes I'm trying to do what you were saying, hit two birds with a stone. So your science recognition, science would also be properly vetted, and your recognition would probably also come by being associated with a university nearby. So that is something we could promise you to connect you to. So please do contact us back afterwards in case you feel such a requirement is there, or you would be helped by that. Okay, so I think one more message is that this event is, although now it's coming to a close, now I think there will be a flurry of posts and photographs and stories which will come up. So please don't forget to add the hashtags. Please put it. So SCAI26, hashtag SCAI26 is what you should put. Also please put hashtag IUCA SciPop. That's what I can request. Yeah. And now let us, let the whole team, LOC team, the volunteers come here on stage and take a bow to the rest of the audience. Please, I'll introduce you after you come here, please. Okay, yes. Kshitij should come. Kshitij, you should come. So people we are here, it's not, they're all voluntarily here. Some of them of course work for IUCA, but that's not it. They just spent the last 3 days here, sleeping here, there. I don't know whether they slept or not. But they have spent a huge amount of time and effort in making this possible. So let's have a huge round of applause. So then, so amongst the volunteers here, we have Saurav Salomke, we have Kshitij Pane, we have Mayuri Patwardhan, Tushar Purohit, Atharo Pathak, Prasad Adekar, Yogesh Vardekar, Rupesh Labde, Maharudra Mate, and Mansi Gaikwad. And also say, maybe I can just quickly call all the other, volunteers who joined us from the 21st, because just because they came here, they said, okay, we have nothing to do, but we want to make best use of the time. The people, your bachas,
all the volunteers also come.
come and take a picture. Jalak.
department, they just really did a phenomenal job of making Ayuka as presentable as possible ever for this conference. I am hearing comments from the academic community which has been very intrigued by what's happening. There's so many people, we don't know them, how come? So, they have joined us here as well in various sessions, and this has been appreciated a lot. Since we are canvassing for the next one, I'll also put on my canvassing for the next SCAI as well. So we have a lovely building coming up next door, which will have, which will enhance our capacities enormously next year. So we would like to not just invite you guys anytime to Ayuka to visit, but also invite you to consider us for the next SCAI conference as well, with much better facilities, and the science park which is coming up next year as well. I just can't stop talking, I guess. It's a very emotional moment to finish this conference. Now passing on to thanks. So this is just about the visit to Giamatti tomorrow. Right? The buses will leave at 7. Okay. Please be there by then. Yeah. The place where you have to be is at NCRA. NCRA is, you walk out of this auditorium complex, take a right, keep walking till you see the next gate on your right. That it will say NCRA outside. Please walk in. National Center for Radio Astrophysics. Please walk in, and a little bit, some 100 meters down the line, down the road, you would see buses parked. Those are the buses you will be going in. We'll start at 7. We'll reach around 9:15. That's where we will have breakfast. Then we'll go to one of the nearby antennas. Somebody will explain to you things about the antenna. Depending on how long it takes, we'll walk back to an auditorium where we'll probably have tea, and then you will have a couple of talks, one about GMRT, and I also want to share with you something about a place called Kodak Rural Science Center. And by then it will hopefully be lunchtime. We'll have lunch, then you will have some free time for yourself. There'll be astronomers there if you want to talk to them. There'll be some engineers there if you want to talk to them. It's a Sunday, so only few of the staff would actually be there. So you can hang around, talk to them, and around between 3 and 3:30 we would like to leave, so that we are back here, by 5:36, something like that. In this month, 2 leopards have been caught at GMRT. So these
How did you catch them?
So it was the forest department which had set up the cages to catch them. So yeah, we don't take it upon ourselves. Yes. So it's a serious business to take care of yourself. Don't wander around by yourself. Stay in groups. Don't walk away from roads. Always be in big groups. That's the basic message. Don't just go wandering around, because I think from there this would make a wonderful shot of the magnificent GMRT antenna. All of that is true, but please don't do that. We will also request you to switch off your phones. There will be observations which will be happening here. So you will not have, the cell phone connectivity which you are used to. We'll have a few people, I think, with us who will have their cameras along with them. So they'll take your pictures. So our apologies for that, but we do want you to switch off your phones as we are there. We're hoping that a little bit down the line that would not be required, because all the cell phone providers would have moved out of the GMRT lines, but it has not happened yet. That's something we are working on. Okay, anything else, Neeraj, which I should mention about the trip tomorrow? Yeah, bring a water bottle, there'll be water there, but because you will be wandering around along the antenna, you might want to keep some with you. If you need a cap, please bring one along. And that's about it. So see you bright and early at 7, maybe a little bit before then, at NCRA. Thank you so much.
But I still talk.